Good morning, afternoon, or evening. My name is John Dooley, and I'm going to be presenting my project to you guys. This is Addressing Aggression in Young Children, exploring interventions for a safer school environment. So this is a research project or research presentation done by me for the class ED 504, Current Trends in Elementary Education. So to introduce what's going on here. Aggression in children is increasing in schools, and this in turn affects safety and learning environments. Early interventions like PBIS and SEL are necessary because of this fact. This study that I'm doing is going to evaluate the effectiveness of intervention and explores improvements. So to elaborate, the chart here on the left is data from 1991 to 2010. Now, this is not a more up-to-date data representation. But the reason I wanted to include this one to kind of start things off with our presentation here is for the simple fact alone that this has been a growing problem and continues to be a growing problem here for teachers in the United States of America. Our problem statement is as such: rising rates of aggression create unsafe school environments, disruption to both student learning and teacher well-being. Schools lack adequate support systems to address this issue. I teach at a school where I can relate to this. This is how I got this topic sort of in my brain and how I want and why I wanted to go forward with it. I teach at a school where violent outbursts and aggression aren't necessarily common, but when they do happen, as lucky as we are to not have as many of them happen, but when they do happen, both our administration as well as our teachers are a bit of at a loss at what to do as far as the long term. We can make the correction, we can have the incident, we can have the behavior stop, but as for what to do about the repeated behaviors, especially ones that are at the more major or serious level, our school, lack programs and protocols in place to keep students safe from student aggression, as well as protocols and routines to keep teachers safe from student aggression. So with our background investigation, for the best practices, positive behavioral interventions and supports. That's what PBIS is, behaviorism. SEL refers to social emotional learning or emotional intelligence. So the theories that got me interested in this and kind of give me a better overview of what everything is going on with aggression and why we're seeing such an increase. Starts with Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory. So this theory posits that a child's development is influenced by multiple layers of environmental systems, ranging from immediate surroundings to more broader societal contexts. So the key systems the key systems have to do with microsystem, immediate environments like family, school, and peers. This is referring to this circle that's here on the slide. The mesosystem are interactions between microsystems, such as parent-teacher relationships. An exosystem is external settings that indirectly affect the child, like a parent's workplace. A macrosystem refers to cultural and societal norms, laws, and values. Chronosystem is temporal changes and transitions over the lifespan. All these layers in our circle here eventually boil down to the child. If these layers have negative um, happenings or messages or overall just learning that's taking place. And when I say negative, that can be aggressive, that can be violent. If any of that is happening within any of these rings, it eventually makes its way down to the child. And of course, immediate family and household are the ones that are going to be directly affecting the child. But the theory states that even if it's something that is happening in a ring that is further away from the child, it eventually makes its way down to the child. And this theory sort of outlines a huge reason why a lot of these children are becoming more aggressive as time goes on. So moving on to the other theory that I would be looking at is the Bandura's social learning theory. So this is another theory completely, but it emphasizes that learning occurs through observing others and modeling their behaviors, attitudes, and emotional reactions. No visual really required for this other than this small one that I have picked up here, the one at the top, what happens is environmental factors, personal factors, behavior factors, all sort of go in a kind of like a circle, like a kind of a process or a system that goes in a loop. What happens is the more the loop goes on, the more the child learns and retains from what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what they're doing. Home, school, and really any other common location for these children to live and interact is going to then impact them directly depending on what is going on in each place. If the home life, for instance, is being viewed as a place of aggression and violence, the child is going to observe that. As that loop continues, observing can at times turn into acting. So they then, seeing violence at home, would then act upon it in another area, or perhaps still at home. It depends on the child. These two theories really serve as the backbone for why a lot of these numbers look the way they do as far as an increase in student incidents at school, and are the foundation of how I approach doing this research project. So with our hypothesis and purpose, put simply, our hypothesis is that PBIS and SEL programs supported by teacher training will reduce aggression and improve safety. The purpose, to assess current interventions and propose strategies to enhance school safety. Speaking as speaking from a realistic standpoint, my goal is to go into different schools within my immediate area and see if they will agree to hand over, or at least show me or go over with me, the different data that they've collected from this school year as well as the previous school year on incidents, major incidents that they have involving student aggression, whether it is verbal or physical. And while I know that my results may be limited, my hypothesis, if a school is open to looking at my strategies and possibly even implementing them during certain cases, is that overall in those cases there will be not a correct and then move on, but rather correct, dive into why the student is corrected, and hopefully help to eliminate the behavior, or at least stop the behavior from happening, and find ways to not just stop the behavior because it's liable to happen again. The theory that we looked at in the last slide told us that, but rather dive into the core and root of why the behavior is being exhibited, and then from there come up with a plan to help that student progress, to grow out of it. That's what's missing in a lot of these school disciplinary programs, is they just want to stop the behavior. They really don't want to correct and fix it. So action plan, this goes into what's going to happen. So again, with results being limited on how schools will choose to participate with me in this, so stratified from urban, suburban, and rural schools, that's within my immediate area, I will be asking for behavior logs, teacher surveys, as well as student assessments. So my steps are collect initial aggression data, implement teacher training for PBIS and SEL, and then conduct assessment at intervals. So for validity, control for external factors such as home and environment. Steps on this are visualized here to the right on this visual. So ethical considerations. This one was pretty big because for a school to be comfortable with me doing this study and possibly implementing programs, of course I have to take into account confidentiality, special populations, IRB compliance, as well as the minimizing risks. So results and implications. I think that if these certain programs and strategies and practices, and the key part is the training, teachers being trained on this, I think that if all this can happen, then there'll be a significant reduction in aggressive incidents. Also, it'll be very much effective with the teachers because they will have improved teacher support and school safety. And as a teacher myself, that feels good. So how does this really show itself with achievement? Safer schools lead to academic outcomes and student engagement. A teacher can focus more on the content they're teaching and not having to control their classroom, or at worst, help to stop or make safe of a incident that involves aggression and violence. So what's going to happen after this study goes down, and what can happen next? So of course, changes to plan might include family and community interventions, expanding teacher and training scope. For future research, I'm thinking long-term effects of PBIS and SEL in secondary schools, as well as possibly studying family and peer influences on aggression. So in conclusion, aggression in schools is a pressing issue, requiring immediate action. PBIS and SEL paired with teacher support are effective solutions. And finally, there's a call to action here. Invest in robust behavioral support systems. Gandhi has a quote about anger and hatred, and that is put simply, anger and intolerance are the enemies of correct understanding. I think this is a great quote to sort of summarize what it is I'm trying to do with this project, because we're not here as teachers and interventionists and behavior specialists. We're not here to just stop a behavior. We want to understand what the student is doing, but more than anything, we want to understand why they're doing it. By meeting their anger with a simple, okay, go to this room, stay in here all day, do your schoolwork, in school suspension, whatever you want to call it, that just gets them out of the way. We need to get to the root of the problem in order to actually fix this. References listed here. References listed here. Thank you so much for listening to my video presentation. Hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to doing this project.